I'll say it again because it bears repeating. Say something. We are not giving up on you. You have something to say that someone needs to hear. They need to hear to save their finances. They need to hear it to save their marriage. They need to hear it to help them raise their children. They need to hear it to do a real estate business. They need to hear it to do entrepreneurship. They need to hear it to have a better mindset in all things life. Say something. We are not giving up on you. This is part 2. Just have some quick questions. So you're still on the edge about podcasting, or you're podcasting and you're like, you're on the edge about quitting. So do you find yourself overthinking the obstacles and the challenges that are there, and even the ones that aren't there, the ones that just may come? You're not even sure if they are coming. Are you waiting until everything is flawless before you start? Or because you started and it's not flawless, I'm going to stop. Do you find that frustration that you have and the setbacks that come your way are deterring you from podcasting? Well, guess what? That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Because that's Mary.
And that's Joe.
And I am a podcast pro.
Give it to him one more time, Joe. You what?
I'm a podcast pro.
Did you say parole?
Yes, had to put a little stank on it.
I'm just saying, listen, so that stink was very much needed because a podcast pro is a very unique person. That the P in pro is purpose. You have a purpose. And guess what? That purpose is normally revealed in pressure. Believe it or not, it's revealed in the press.
Yes.
That R in pro is resilient. And that resilience makes you stronger. And that O is outstanding. Listen, standing out as your strategic self. Please understand that the P and the R and the O for this episode undeniably connected with everything that we will be discussing and sharing with you and helping to cultivate what the person behind the mic.
Yes.
Joe, are there any of these that stand out at you and you're like, you know what? That right there.
Well, I think the thing that stands out to me for today is resilience. Because the bottom line is it takes a lot really to live life, period. Like let's start there. Let's start at the resilience to just live life and be an adult.
As we were just talking about, just getting up today.
Right, exactly. Just building up the energy and the desire and the resilience to make it through this day and be our best selves. So imagine trying to do something as what can seem daunting. I don't want to claim daunting, but what can seem daunting as doing a podcast, because there's so much involved with doing a podcast. But we're here to really show you how to build your resilience in order to be an unstoppable podcaster. Because if you don't have that resilience, it's going to be really easy for you to stop, for you to question and be like, do I even want to do this anymore? Do I have what it takes? Oh, do I have this? Oh, do I have that? Am I this? Am I that? Comparing yourself to other people, yada, 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 yada. It's like, no. You got it.
You got it.
So we're going to help you tap into that tonight.
Listen, and what we want to exactly help you tap into tonight in this episode is breaking those barriers and taking action and building some endurance. Why? Because just like I was just sharing with Joe, going to the gym is not easy.
No.
But guess what? With every rep, with every step, with every push, with every pull, with every twist, with every turn, I actually break everything down to rebuild it to be stronger. That's exactly what's going on in podcasting. But the first thing that I had to do was confront myself. Again, did you hear me say I get up and go to the gym every morning?
Yeah.
That's my intent. My intent is every day there's a workout. So let's say I don't make it to the gym. There's still a workout. Every day there's a workout. Do you know what I had to change first to get that workout? Not the outfit, not that playlist. Those are things I needed. Not even the shoes. The first thing I had to change was my perception of the whole process. My mindset. That's the same thing you need to change when it comes to podcasting. Because are you overthinking the obstacles and or challenges that may come with podcasting? And this overthinking can cause your perception can be distorted to the reality of how things are going and making the challenges seem insurmountable, making them seem absolutely impossible to overcome. But that's not it. That's not it at all. Listen, the first thing I want to share is the exaggerating of obstacles. You just already start to think, or something comes along and you already see the worst. You already start thinking the worst. You already expect that it's not going to work. Overthinking all the technical stuff, all the creative process of making the podcast, you're overthinking it. It's as simple as if you've picked what comes natural to you, the topic, the niche that comes natural to you, it's simple as sharing the value that you bring and bringing others to your platform to share their value. Listen, if you've chosen what you're passionate about talking about, what you've been through, and you have experiences, stories to share, because people really do connect through the stories that you share. When you have that information, it makes it effortless and easy. Challenges and obstacles are not there to defeat you. They're actually there to strengthen you, to make you more strategic in the things that you discuss, the topics that you bring, the guests that you bring on, the way that you maneuver through things. Did you hear me not say the way things just so magically disappear? No. The way that you maneuver through things. Because with every maneuver, you're getting stronger. You're getting more resilient. You're being more strategic in the way that you approach things. Do you ever find yourself over exaggerating a challenge that you're faced with, believing that podcasting requires perfection? That high expectation can be disappointing. That's really something, Joe, if you have something else to share on this, because I know you were telling me that you had something about our second topic.
So with the whole thing with perfection, first and foremost, it's so important to really kind of bring this quote into the fray. It's a very famous quote. I forget who says it, but basically, it's perfectionism is the enemy of progress. And if you spend,
I apologize.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
I'm sorry. Run that back one more time.
Perfectionism is the enemy of progress.
My Lord.
Yeah.
That's a loaded statement. Go ahead. I didn't expect.
Yeah. Hit you with a little curveball real quick. You know what
My
I mean?
Lord.
Yeah. Because the thing is, when you segue from perception to perfectionism, it's really in all how you see it. It's all in your mind. Like when you're changing your perception, is what you see through your mind's eye. And so if in your mind you are over exaggerating things, you're overestimating things, it's so easy to say, okay, it's easy to overcompensate when it comes down to trying to make things perfect. Because you say, oh, well, I don't have this type of a camera, or I don't have this type of a mic, or I only have my phone, or I don't have a super powerful computer, or the environment where I'm shooting this podcast at, it's not the best environment. It doesn't look super professional. When you get caught up in so many of these things, which I've talked to people, I'm not gonna put anybody on blast, but I've talked to people before they ended up launching their podcast, and these were the type of things that I would hear. And from the time that they talked about the idea to the time they actually unleashed their platform, I've seen it be as much as a year, sometimes 2 years, depending on the person and depending on what their drive is towards actually developing this podcast. And a lot of times, again, it gets rooted and grounded in perfectionism. It's the whole thing of, are you waiting for everything to be flawless before starting? You got something you want to say, Mary?
Yes, I gotta jump in here because
yes,
in
please
the
do.
perfectionism, okay, so this is my personal story.
Okay.
When I started podcasting, I said, okay, so right now in this moment, I don't know how to edit. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna go live. That's what I found a way around it until I can deal with it. I had to find a way around it. Someone else that I know, they said, I'm gonna start my podcast, but it's gonna get edited. I'm gonna go to Fiverr and I'm gonna pay somebody to do the editing for me. There is a way. You have to be strategic.
That's right.
There is a way. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just wait, that thing, that perfection, it can paralyze you and stop you.
That's the perfect word for it.
Sharing what somebody desperately needs to know. You know why? Because not everybody can learn from the same person. Have you ever taken a class and you're like, everybody else like, oh my God, this teacher is bomb, and you thinking, I didn't understand everything that person just said. But you not knowing the other student has their background is from that culture. So they understood the dialect, the thinking of how they presented it, everything. They comprehended it well because in their home, that's their actual language.
Yeah.
And thinking. That's what they grew up in within their parents. So but then for some other students, it's not coming through well. I'm not receiving. I'm not growing. So that's how I know. That is a prime example of how your way of presenting it, somebody is waiting for you. Say something, because we are not giving up or tell the people something, Joe. You know I could go
Absolutely.
on and on and on and on. So
Hey.
you know what it is.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But that is the perfect alley-oop into really getting in. Like, you gave a prime example of getting around the perfectionism. And I think when it comes down to it, a lot of times people are fearful of being judged because, I mean, look, we are in a time where everybody has an opinion on literally everything. People will rush to social media and talk about that opinion. They'll say stuff like, "Oh, you know, I like this podcast, but this podcast over here, their visuals are ashy. You know, the sound is trash. They don't be asking, you know, these types of questions and this, and that, and third, and yada." Everybody has an opinion on everything, and I think a lot of times because some people get in these positions after having been the critical people, critical Chris. And then they get in the position, it's like, this isn't as easy as I thought. And so you start getting those things in your head. Or you get to the point where you overplan. Like,
wait, can we go back? Go back.
Oh yeah.
Fear of judgment. Listen, with people like that, I need you to understand those people are just not your audience.
That's right.
When people say things like that to me, if it's true, I laugh and go, yep.
Mm-hmm.
But when people start going left, number one, I don't finish reading it.
Yep.
You don't have to finish reading something that you feel someone is insulting you. There's a difference between being insulting and being you're actually trying to invest in the person. You're trying to help cultivate the person. You're pointing out something, and this is how you know. If they point it out and they can give you a suggestion.
Yes.
But if they just point it out to trash talk it, that's not your audience.
That's right.
So don't worry about them.
That's right. That's right. The people, to your point, Marion, the people who believe in constructive criticism are not your audience. The people who believe in constructive feedback are. And I'm gonna say why really quickly. Criticism and constructiveness do not go together. Criticism is rooted and grounded in harsh judgment. You think of something that's harsh, think of a Brillo pad. Do you want to get scratched with a Brillo pad in order to get some gook and mess off of you? No. Especially if you're a non-stick pan. You don't put a Brillo pad on a non-stick pan. Tear that pan up. The pan will not be useful or as useful as it's supposed to be because you're using the wrong utensils to clean it up, make it better, and for it to serve the purpose it's supposed to serve, and for that pan to remain resilient. The pan can't remain resilient if you're using a Brillo pad to clean it. That's why constructive feedback, it's a little bit softer, but it's not too soft, whereas it's just like you're just throwing softball help at the person. It's rooted and grounded in love, and it's rooted and grounded in help to help that person get better. It's a balance of the good, the not so good, or the way that I like to look at it, it's the whole thing. And I think if it might have been Rick Warren or it might have been another pastor who said it, but basically it's the whole thing of a weakness is nothing but a strength that's been perverted. So it's a matter of flipping that strength, that weakness back into its intended strength. That's all it is. That's what constructive feedback is supposed to do to that point.
You just brought biblically to me, life and death is in the power of your tongue.
That part. That part.
You expect people to come to you and explain things in a way that's palatable for you. Make sure that you're doing the same.
That's right. That's right. So all of that to say, don't fear the judgment. Just be to Marion's point, be cognizant and have the discernment to know the place where that judgment is coming from, if it does come. But it shouldn't be something that keeps you from doing what it is that you are designed to do as a podcaster. Then you think about the whole thing of a lot of times people overplan, like just spending too much on all of these minute details that when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, when you roll out that podcast or you roll out that episode or whatever it might be, people don't care about that. Like only you care about that as the person putting on the product. But when it comes down to it, the people do not care at all, because what's your
not
community,
the people who really need it, not the people who really need it.
Because it always goes back to something that, you know, my late mother-in-law, may she rest in power, was something she always used to say to my wife. And I've taken that to be something that I say all the time. You got to take the meat from the bones. And the bottom line is the bones. Sometimes people focus too much on the bones, which are like the minute details or the minutia that, you know, only certain people really care about, but not the people who are there, not your community. Your community is there to get the meat, whatever that meat is. Yeah. Okay. So your feed might be a little bit ashy at times. So your audio might not be perfect all the time. So you don't have some top tier mic that you're on, or some top tier camera that you're on, you know, or your graphics, they might not necessarily be top of the line graphics compared to like some of the more professional podcasts. Big whoop. What are you saying? It goes back to the title. Say something. What are your guests saying? What are you saying? What are you saying about who you bring on? What does it say about you, and how does it communicate to your audience? So get past the over planning, and then insecurity about your expertise. If we all knew everything about everything, why would we even need to have podcasts?
Podcast in today's time, the podcast is YouTube University for the most of us. It's just the university that we're choosing to log in, take a seat, or take it on a jog, or take it on a walk, and really just learn, to grow, to build, to acquire knowledge, to acquire the tools that we need to get better in the area that we wish to be better in.
That's right. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned YouTube University, because I'm gonna use YouTube University as the example to kind of put a bow on that part of it, or kind of pull up something. At first I was gonna kind of sort of go along the lines of like people I've talked to, but I really think about, I had to get around the possibility of perfectionism. So really quickly, when COVID happened and my radio show, the Balancing Act Radio Show, when I had to do everything from home, I was so used to going into a radio station. They already had the mics, they already had the cameras, they already had the soundboard, they had everything. I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to shoot this show and make it quality in terms of the visuals, in terms of the audio, in terms of the graphics? Like I wanted to do certain things with it that weren't being done by the radio station, because I had a specific vision. But in doing that, it honestly slowed things down and made it to a large degree unwatchable, because my computer was laggy. I didn't have the computer to really handle what I was trying to do. The sound was okay, but then I had to swap out one soundboard for another. My camera was all right, but it wasn't great. And it really almost handcuffed me. But then I got to a point where it was like, one, I recognized my audience, my community. They were patient with me because they knew the product that I'd already rolled out previously. That's number one. Number two, they knew this was a new endeavor for me, so there were going to be technical difficulties with everything. And three, because I had top quality guests on the show, for those shows where I was kind of working out the kinks, they were just there for the meat that was being presented to them, the meat and potatoes that was being presented to them. So I got out of that perfectionist mindset and said, you know what? It's not going to look like this. It doesn't have to. What is the quality of the show? Not how it looks, not even necessarily how it sounds, even though I feel like you really try to focus on sounding good, because people forgive bad video before they forgive bad sound. But still, I knew it wasn't going to necessarily be perfect. It was like, okay, the show must go on. So instead of worrying about whether it looks like this, that, and the third, with people who have way more resources at their disposal, work with the resources that I actually had. And that allowed me to continue on with the show because I got out of my own way at the end of the day.
Got out of my own way at the end of the day. Now that you have added, we've discussed and unpacked the question of, are you waiting until everything is flawless before you start? How would you answer the question of, do frustrations and setbacks deter your focus on doing your podcast?
That's a great question. I know for me, they happened in different phases of doing pretty much every podcast I've ever done. But it's how I handled it. So when the frustrations and setbacks came when I was on Breakout Kings, that was more about my ego than anything, and having to set my ego aside in terms of saying, you know what? Yeah, these things are frustrating and they're setbacks. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's deterring me from like really being passionate about continuing on with this show. But at the same time, I knew the show had to go on. Like, I'll give you a very small example. So the week after I talked about this fairly public blow up that I had with one of my co-hosts on the show. Now, granted, you didn't hear anything that we said to each other, but you saw it on camera as it was on break. Like the music was playing, everything, but you could see the exchange between. Right. Yes. Well, it wasn't. Well, yeah, it was.
No, but you could physically see.
Yes. Exactly. Like you could see. Like if you was just listening on the radio, you wouldn't know anything was going on. But if you were watching on camera, you knew we were not happy with each other. But the very next week, I had to carry on this show by myself because none of my co-hosts were there. In fact, I think like one of the co-hosts, he had to leave early. So then it ended up being me. He showed up. So I did a whole show. We had a 4-hour show. I did that whole show by myself for 4 hours. And I had to say, yes, okay, it's frustrating that I got to do this show by myself. And partially, I'm already kind of sort of still feeling raw about what happened last week. I had to tough through that frustration from the previous week. And then the frustration of having to do a 4-hour show for the first time ever by myself and say, the show must go on. I have to figure out a way to get it done. And so it was that persistence, that endurance that had to kick in to say, you know what? We're going to get through this.
Come on here.
We're going to get through this, So what about you, Marion? Would you say you've ever dealt with like moments where frustrations and setbacks like derailed your focus?
Yes, I can say that frustration definitely derailed my focus. As I always talk about, I have Confident You podcast. Well, it's been on hiatus for a minute, but the thing that's really amazing me is that now we're doing this. And even hearing your story, you went from radio station to blogging to podcasting after podcast after podcast. So it's just amazing to understand that and it can change, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just fine. I am not a failure for that hiatus that I'm on. I'm actually planning to relaunch next year. But I'm not a failure because of all the things that I've learned, and now coming in and doing this with you, it's made it even easier because I already had the experience. But you have to start somewhere. Say something. We're not giving up on you.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with rejection? That story sounded like it had a little bit of rejection.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, I don't even have to go necessarily with that show. I can go with the Balanced Act radio show. I dealt with a lot of rejection on that show. Do you know how many times that I reach out to artists or I reach out to guests? I reach out to them, not the other way around. And there are times even the other way around, but more specifically, when I see an artist or a particular or somebody that it's like, you know what, they would be a very good guest or potentially good guest. At least that's what I think based on the conversations I've had with them, based on their music or whatever it might be. And then people hit you with the Bojangle move. And for anybody that's not from the DC area, slang term, when you Bojangling, you dancing around, you tap dancing. It's like, like you playing.
You say it's this. You say it's this day, this time. Then I'm like, wait, what? And then it's this day, this time. Then I'm like, wait, what? This way. Let me tell you, you hit that third one, yeah, you're going to need to say something.
That's right.
Because you're not going to give up on yourself.
That's right. That's right. And I'm glad that you said that, because in those situations, I had to be prepared. I had to persist and I had to endure, because I would get these people and think, okay, they're going to be guests on the show. You reach out to them like, hey, need this information, need that information, yada, yada, yada. No response. Reach out one last time like, hey, just checking in, making sure you're still interested in coming on. What's good? No response.
What we doing?
I had to, here's where the persistence and the endurance had to kick in. I had to not take it personally.
Don't take it personal. Baby, 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 baby. That thing right there. That thing right there.
That's right.
Because is it actually rejection, or is it God's protection? Because maybe they weren't supposed to be on, or maybe you weren't supposed to be on their platform. Whatever reason. It may not be the time, the season, the platform, the person, or the message that's for your audience, you, or for you to be there.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'm not gonna put this person on blast, but like when you asked me that question, it was one person in particular.
Jump right here.
One person, and it was like, when I say me and this brother had such a great conversation leading up to me asking him to be on my show, like, I mean, he had so much knowledge that a lot of people don't even know, specifically about DC. And I'm a DC history guy. You start talking DC history, it's like, let's go. But when it was time, to show and prove, when I say Flake, that man Flake. That man was Ricky Flake like a mug.
That's where I know that when it comes time, when it's actually lights, camera, action, even though I am sitting in the comfort of my studio area, in front of my equipment, and they're in their area, in front of their equipment, you're there and I'm here, there is still this nervousness of, wait, so somebody can hear me? Wait, so this is evergreen? It's always going to be here? What if I say something wrong? What if this? What if that? What if that? You get to the end of the episode and you go, hey, you know what? I just need to let you know this section right here, yeah, that's not going to be in there. I'm going to take this out. It doesn't feed into my audience, or it's not appropriate for the audience that I'm building. The reason why, like, I don't have cussing, because I want kids to be able to partake.
Right.
And I don't want to be the person that's teaching them. So don't be mad when you see me at Kevin Hart cracking up to my side splits at a show. That I'm not misrepresenting myself. Don't be angry when you don't hear it from me. I'm not misrepresenting myself. This is how I'm choosing to present.
Right. You can receive something in a certain way, but you don't have to present it in that way, because that just doesn't make sense for you and your brand. You know, Kevin Hart, that's his brand. Yes. Marion Swingler, that's your brand. That's your brand.
You better let them know.
Yeah, that's right.
Cheese. What? Come on here, sir. You did that. What about the unpredictable part of frustration and being persistent and enduring? That unpredictable, that unexpected. I've had to learn to adapt.
Yeah.
I've had to. That's why the word strategic was in outstanding when I did the O. Yeah. That's strategic. You gotta choose to do that, because you could be reactive if you want to. But it's better to be strategic.
Yes.
In being strategic, for me, sometimes the best response I have for unexpected is not to say nothing in the moment.
Yeah. That's
right. But if we're on a podcast and you coming at me with something that's unexpected, I'm either going to pick something in there that I feel is a safe topic.
Yep.
Meaning you're not going to go so far out of the realm of the boundaries that I have set on my platform. We have set on our platform. You don't you want to make sure you have. That's what helps the unpredictable not take you out.
That's right. Yeah.
You already know that's not, we're not going that way. We're not going that way. We're not going. Yes, you do. You want to be open and honest and everything, but everything's not for everybody.
That's right. Gotta read the room.
What? And sometimes those things ought to be discussed in this room. This ain't the room for that.
That's right.
Don't do that. This ain't the room. And I will say, listen, we ain't doing that. Go and watch the first episode of Confident You.
Yeah.
On the Confident You Network. Go and watch the first episode of Confident You podcast. Let me know if I don't say. We ain't doing that.
Right.
Literally. My daughter threw a haymaker at me, and whoever can go there and find out what the haymaker she threw at me was and put it in the comments, I got something special for you. I got something special for the first person who go in the comments and put that haymaker she threw at me. And then you're going to realize, because it connects to saying something, because we're not giving up on you, and how to be resilient in this land of podcasting.
Yes. Because many have come and many have gone.
So the unpredictability. I apologize. I cut you off.
No. You good.
What's unpredictable? What's one unpredictable thing that you like? Wait, what? We're not doing that. Or how did you answer?
Yeah, because I'm around. There was one really unpredictable moment that came to mind when I was on Breakout Kings. Not even the one out, where I had the little static with, my brother, whatever, but it was one guest who came on the show. Then we had somebody else who's kind of like a low-key a guest host.
You see this eye? You better watch him. You better watch him.
So the guy who was the guest host, and he wasn't even really a guest host, he was just there, but he ended up becoming a host. But so the guy who was the actual guest, we were trying to interview him and have a conversation with him. The guy who was just kind of there was high-key hating on him. I mean, high-key hating on him the entire time and saying little snide remarks and whatever. And so the guy, he's kind of a street dude. He's like he cusses on air. And mind you, like we were at the time of night where, you could actually cuss on the air. He cussed on air. He's like, basically like, man, I thought we were supposed to be doing an effing interview. You know what I'm saying? What we doing? And he was very annoyed, and it ended up almost being a fight. Like an actual physical fight in the studio. And when I say we had to play Damage Control, like we've never had to play Damage Control on an episode ever, like it really almost got heated because you had a couple street dudes in that room that they were forgetting that they were at a radio station in Iverson Mall where there are police and security. Where stuff pops off, mall security up in there, PG police is up in there. It's like
not a problem for it to be handled.
Right. Like our show could have easily got taken off the air if things had gone any more left. That unpredictability tested our resilience and our endurance as a podcast, because we really had to say, we have to be the ones to bring down that volume. We had to be the ones to diffuse that situation and still be professional, because I think we ended up going to like a break or something, like literally right after that. And during that break, during that music break, that's when we had to calm things down. Some people had to leave the room. Some people stayed in the room. But the bottom line was, even though it was unpredictable and could have really gone left, we were like, the show must go on. We're not going to let nonsense and hating and all this other stuff mess up what we're trying to build with this show.
Yeah. I think that is a very, very good place to complete the R in Pro. Definitely want to go back and watch the last episode for that purpose. You missed something if you didn't get it. And then you want to be here next week for the O, because we're promising you it's going to be outstanding. But this resilience in podcasting is about that mindset, that perception, that action in perfection, which doesn't exist. So just that action, because guess what? It's actually better to put something out that's not perfected than to wait to put something out that's perfected. You know why? Because it's actually available for someone to utilize. And not only do they get a chance to learn and grow, you get a chance to learn and grow and make it better. But it can't be made better if you don't put it out.
That's right.
And then that endurance, that strength is built through persistence. Please, we ask. We really, really have a heart for you to say something. We're not giving up on you. That is our mission. That's our purpose. That's our call. And the call to action is for you to get in those comments. Get in the comments and tell us which one of those really, really speak to you. Which one of those do you think we really need to unpack more? You think that it's really gripping people more and stopping them from podcasting. Or if you have a story, please go in the comments and share it so we can hear, learn, and grow together. Tell the people how they can reach us, Joe.
Yes. So if you love what you've been seeing, you love what you've been hearing from us, connect with us on social media. We are at I Am a Podcast Pro on Instagram. We also have a Facebook, I Am a Podcast Pro, with Marion and
Joe.
That's right. On Facebook, just look it up. Join the group. That's where we can definitely have more discussions in terms of things that you would like to see us talk about, things that issues that you might be running. You have a podcast already. You're running into certain issues and you're trying to figure out how to navigate around those issues. Those are things that we can address directly, or even better, we can address in an episode, because then it'll be real life scenarios that we can actually tackle together as a community, because that's what it's all about. It's about engaging as a community and really helping those who have a passion for podcasting and want to get better at it to really tap into your greatest potential. And also, if you have any other things that you would like to ask us or suggest, please feel free to email us. We are at iamapodcastpro@gmail.com. And of course, do not forget, if you are watching this right now, that means you are on our YouTube page. And if you are not already subscribed, what you doing?
Doing?
Press the subscribe button. Yes, hit that bell notification. We go live. You know it. You can tap in. You are already there. You front row seat. You can do like they used to do back in the day. First in the comments.
There it is. So we definitely want you to continue to say something, and we are here because we are not giving up on you. And this part 2, how to build resilience to be an outstanding podcaster. So we will see you next time. Let's get it.